BWF Solicitors, we take pride in our client service. As a niche law practice, we are conscious of the demands of our clients. We always offer a friendly, listening ear and sympathetic attitude. We've worked with thousands of people all across the UK in all areas of personal legal services. We have received great feedback and reviews from our clients. We are located at Seven Sisters in Tottenham on the 4th floor of the Anna House, right on top of the Victoria Line train station for your utmost convenience. We have a friendly office and provide all of the refreshments necessary while you wait to see a lawyer. We are dedicated to our clients and have a successful record of serving our clients. Solicitors of England and Wales are of high quality and are bound by the highest professional standards. We are officers of the court and are bound by standards of integrity, competence and conduct as part of our responsibility to uphold rule of law. Our solicitors and lawyers care about your case and are committed to providing the best possible service to you in the most considerate and careful manner. We hold 2 Law Society quality marks. Law Society accreditation helps to demonstrate that we have attained the requisite standard in the area of law and have the requisite expertise. BWF Solicitors, we're here to help you with your legal services when you need us.
Landlords, investors and tenants. Our mission is to ethically and honestly serve our clients. We won't make promises we cannot keep, rather. We present a clear picture of the reality we can offer. We are here to help you with long and short-term let, property management, cash buyers for quick sales, stock repossession and mortgage arrears. For all your property needs, look no further. Visit us at www.victonestates.co.uk or call us on 07448619711. Victon Estates, your property is our pride.
Hello. Welcome to Heritage TV, the Legal Hour show. I'm so excited to be with you today. If you've just joined in, I would like to, entreat you to share to all your family and friends. If you want to contribute to the program, you can contribute to this program via social media handles, Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, and the others. Yes, before I introduce you to the topic for today, I would like to wish all mothers, a happy Mother's Day in advance. Tomorrow it's celebration. We are going to celebrate all mothers. So, happy Mother's Day to all mothers in advance from us at Heritage TV. I would also like to inform everybody tuned in and listening to us that everything that will be discussed with our, lawyer Eunice of BWF Solicitors is just for information purposes, because I believe that everybody's case is different, even though what will be discussed here, we might be discussing, questions, and you might feel that, the same thing applies to me, but I will suggest that don't make your final decision by what you hear as discussed today, but will strongly advise you to contact lawyer Eunice and her team at BWF Solicitors, and they will look at your case, specifically. So that is what I'm going to say. So if you listen to this program, any question that is being, discussed, any information, is just for you to know that if you are in this situation, there is hope. Lawyer Eunice will be able to, solve your problem for you. So all you have to do is you straight away book an appointment to see her and her team at BWF Solicitors, and they will be able to assist you according to your particular needs. Yes, now coming to the program. Because tomorrow is Mother's Day, Lawyer Eunice decided for us to discuss domestic violence and its effects on your immigration status, because this is very prevalent in our community. When we say domestic violence, what comes straight to your mind is women, because about, if I should say, 80-90% of these cases is women who are victims. So we thought it's the right time for us to discuss domestic violence and its effects on your immigration status. There have been a lot of women who have been in this situation, are scared of their lives because probably they haven't been able to regularize their stay, and they are hiding in fear. Today, Lawyer Eunice is going to give you hope, ways and means you can, regularize your stay if you have been in domestic abuse. So without wasting my time, I will introduce my lovely lady, lawyer at BWF Solicitors, and she's also a partner at BWF Solicitors, Lawyer Eunice Achampo. Hello, Lawyer Eunice.
Hello, Vicky. Hope you are doing well and your week has been
Yes,
good.
exactly. Yes. And how about you?
It's God's grace that is keeping us. So I would say that it is only by God's grace. It is only by God's grace. Yes.
All right. Lawyer
Also,
Eunice.
I just remembered
Yeah.
it's one of my
Yeah.
auntie's birthday. Let me just quickly wish her a happy
Okay,
birthday.
quickly.
Okay, so this is a happy birthday to Auntie Bridget. You are such a wonderful and instrumental person at VLBC, and we thank God for your life, and we ask for God to continue to grant you good health, to give you wisdom beyond your
Oh,
years, and to give
wonderful.
you peace of mind, and to continuously prosper you and your family. So this is to you, Auntie Bridget. Have a wonderful birthday.
Oh, that's so lovely. Auntie Bridget, Heritage TV also wishes you a happy birthday. That's amazing. That's
Thank you.
amazing. Lawyer Eunice, you heard in my introduction, I was, wishing every mother a happy Mother's Day in advance, since, we are not
Yeah.
broadcasting coming on tomorrow. It's only Saturdays that we do our legal hour show. So I thought
Yeah.
I better wish all mothers, a happy Mother's Day in advance. And I think this topic is being discussed at the right time as well, because when we talk about domestic violence, you don't think of any other person than all women who suffer the most in domestic violence. So I know you are definitely going to do justice to this topic. Before you delve into the topic, I will also ask all viewers to contribute. Please contribute to this program. You can even send me a message. If you prefer, don't mention your name. I'll be very happy to pass, your question on to Lawyer Eunice. You can remain anonymous. That's fine with me. And that is what I wanted to say. So, Lawyer Eunice, domestic violence. Wow, I think today our program is going to take over an hour because it's a very sensitive topic.
Yeah.
What is the difference between domestic violence and abuse, Lawyer Eunice?
Okay. So usually the term that people know is domestic violence, and
Yes.
it will continuously be said that when somebody has been physically been abused, that's what we would usually call domestic violence.
Mm-hmm.
As of the year 2018, when we had Theresa May being the prime minister, she wanted to change the narrative, and she wanted people to understand that it's not just the physical abuse. And so she was advised, and she took on the advice of the committee that was heading
Mm-hmm.
the change in law, and they suggested that domestic abuse should not only be physical, but it could be psychological, it could be financial, it could be emotional, it could also be psychological. And most of the time, because we usually think about it as being just the physical, they wanted people to be aware that if somebody goes through like psychological abuse, for instance, you can't see the physical harm, but then
Yeah.
that person can go through that psychological abuse and may end up even committing suicide. And that in itself is abuse and should not be disregarded. And so, as of 2018, the law changed so that it would be termed as domestic abuse rather than just domestic violence, so that it can
Right.
include all those other terms that I've just mentioned. And we all know that with domestic abuse, it can be one incident or a series of incidents that can show somebody's controlling behavior or coercive behavior or threatening behavior. And of course, this lead to other things. And as much as possible, we want people to consider the fact that it is not just physical abuse, but it is also to do with the psychology, the emotions, and the financial aspects as well.
It's good you mentioned the coercive abuse as well, because I just read somewhere that Section 76 of the Serious Crime Act 2015 created an offense criminalizing controlling coercive behavior in an intimate or family relationship. At first, they didn't include coercive, control. So that is so it's good that you mentioned that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
important that we realize that these things can really affect somebody psychologically as well. So, for instance, when you say somebody is coercive in their behavior, maybe they tend to be humiliating, they will tend to intimidate you with their words, make you feel like you are almost nothing. Maybe they're constantly shouting at you, patronizing you. It could be a series of behaviors that would let you know that maybe they are the ones who are better off and you are not good enough, for instance. And so that in itself is coercive behavior. And when somebody is controlling, they're basically telling you that they are better off than you. And of course, when you think about scenarios where, for instance, somebody is in a relationship and they're only given a mobile phone which they can top up, and they themselves don't even have the money to top up, so they have to go to, for instance, the other spouse for them to top up their phone so that they can call somebody or so that they can message somebody. That is all controlling behavior. They don't have access to their accounts. They are not allowed to go out at a specific time, and they have to be home by a specific time. They are not allowed to meet with friends, for instance. They are not allowed to go out and socialize with other people. This is all controlling and coercive behavior. And so all of this counts as psychological and emotional abuse when you look at it in the broader sense. So yes, this is part of what they would call as a criminal behavior in terms of the law as well.
Okay. And also in the instance whereby the abuser takes the other party's bank cards, doesn't allow her to withdraw money, everything she has to ask the abuser before getting access to her own money.
Yeah. And this is also a way that I feel that most of the perpetrators are telling you, well, we have the upper hand, because maybe, for instance, in a relationship where the man is the dominating figure, for instance.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that domestic abuse only happens to women, but in the wider sense where a woman is suffering at the hands of a dominant male, and the male wants to show that, well, he's the head of the house, and for instance, he's brought you here for a reason, and so whatever
Exactly.
he says has to be obeyed. And if you do otherwise, then it means that you are not being obedient to him. You are not respecting his authority within the household. And therefore, he has every right to tell you how to use your money, what to use your money for, and how he will control the means to which you have access to the money. And this is by all means wrong, because how then can she also have her independence in terms of
Exactly.
her finances? If she wants to go, for instance, and go and buy sanitary pad, for instance, are you telling me that she has to come and
Yeah.
ask your
Yeah.
permission before she's able to go and buy these necessities? That is a no-no, and it cannot keep going on in our day and age today. There are so many instances where you hear
Exactly.
people stop
Mm.
and
Mm.
you are
Mm.
thinking to yourself, "Oh my goodness, is this happening?" And it's happening. It's real. People will tell you things, and you open your mouth and you are surprised. In certain instances, you can't even talk because you are thinking to yourself, "This is probably an educated person who should
Yes.
know better." And they are doing this, and it's wrong on all levels. And as this week we were looking at celebrating women on the 8th of March, celebrating women because it was International Women's Day.
Women's
And
Day.
you sometimes hear people speak about these things and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I mean, we must be very, very sensitive to these things and address them properly, because women are going through certain things that I really feel that we should be able to talk about, discuss them, and then help them resolve these issues. Otherwise, when it's brushed under the carpet, somebody will say, "Oh, maybe because you are married, it's something that you are having to adjust to. Maybe you haven't learned how to respond properly to your husband, and maybe for this and that." And you have those who have religious connotations, and they'll tell you, well, because you are a certain religion, and so therefore you shouldn't open up about things like this because it's matters to deal with the home, and so you have to be hush and quiet about it. And it's mainly to do with the dominant religious groups as well, not just Christianity but the others as well. And it's sad that we have this going on and on and on, because people feel that they are bound by either their religion or the fact that they are traditionalists, and so that's why they have to keep things on a hush. It's not done anywhere, and I think we need to make people aware that it is wrong, and they need to speak up about it as well.
Lawyer Eunice, who are the main perpetrators, and what is the ratio, of men to women who are being abused?
So when we talk about domestic abuse, it can be any person, but many statistically it is family members, and they've realized that a greater proportion of those that are victims are usually abused by their partners. So a larger proportion has to do with victims being abused by their partners, and it could be a husband, it could be an unmarried partner as well.
Okay.
Um, Sometimes it could be other family members, so it could be a brother or a sister, it could be an uncle, it could be an in-law, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, it could be even a step family member as well. So these are usually within the family, so they are not outsiders or strangers. Very rarely would you have somebody outside of the family setting being the abuser. Statistically, it is known that it is um, mostly the family members who tend to be the main perpetrators. And of course, when you talk about the proportion of male to female um, who are being abused, I think there was a study carried out sometime last year as
Mm-hmm.
to the ratio of male and female victims of abuse. And when you look at the figures, it will show that they said from March of 2019 to March of 2020, last year, there were over 1.6 million victims of abuse who were women. And then you also have the male, because we should not take that out of the equation. Those that are victims that are male, there was
Yeah.
over 757,000 of them that were victims of abuse. And so when you look at it, it it is quite staggering that sometimes even the male figures that we may think may be dominating may not necessarily be as strong as we think they are. And maybe this could be as a result of the fact that in this country we also have legalized gay relationship. And so under the law, if a gay or a homosexual couple are going through domestic abuse, they are likely to report this abuse that is going on as well. And so that could also explain the numbers in terms of those that are being abused from the male's perspective, and the fact that it's not just women who are um, categorically said to be victims. So it could be either, but mainly it is prevalent in the, should I say, the society where we feel that women are supposed to be inferior and women are supposed to be the ones that are subordinate to the man. And so, of course, you tend to have more women being domestically abused than their male counterparts. So, yes,
Mm.
of course, the women will fall victim, but there will also be situations where male, um, should I say, counterparts will also fall victim to domestic violence, because of the fact that we also live in a liberal country where relationships are not just heterosexual, but you can have
Mm. Mm. Mm.
homosexual relations where this is also prevalent. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. But Lawyer Eunice, one thing keeps bothering my mind. Why are women not speaking up and suffering in silence? Because what I always think is, because when you speak to such people, what they say is that, especially with physical abuse, when that happens, the partner or the husband will later on, when he's calmed down, will come to you, I'm sorry, you know, apologize and everything. And I mean, will finally say that because I love you so much, so when you upset me in a certain way, that is how I react. So when the woman hears such things from the man, one, he's apologized, and two, he's telling you that because of, you know, how much he loves you, you are his everything. When
Mm,
you act in a certain way that upsets him, that is how he reacts. So these women keep on enduring it all the time. And I think the second point I also have is that especially with women who depend on their spouses as regards to their
yeah.
immigration status. When the men keep on abusing them, they tell them that if you dare report me, I'm not going to, extend your stay when the time comes. So what do? You
Mm,
have to, suffer in silence. What do you
mm.
say about this? Why are women not speaking up?
I think one of the main reasons why women may not be speaking up, like I said earlier, will be the culture and the traditions that we have. Especially being someone from an ethnic minority, you know that within our African setting, you're always told that the woman is the one who is,
Okay.
should I say, the main bearer, and she has to be the one who stays at home to look after the
Mm,
children and
mm,
do
mm,
the things that her husband asks of her. And so you have
mm,
that traditional and cultural mindset from the get-go, and you are saying to yourself, well, I came into this for the long haul. I did not come to just get out of it as soon as the challenges start. So, in her mind, or in the woman's mind, she's saying to herself, okay, these may be a few hitches in the relationship, but I will have to overcome them. And um, unfortunately, what happens is that because the man may have that controlling behavior, and
yeah.
the woman is oblivious to that. She's thinking, oh, it will get better. As I keep respecting him, if as I keep doing what he asks of me,
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
will get better, things will change, things will obviously change for the better, because I know that he will end up loving me when I keep showing him that respect that he wants and the rest of it. And another reason I also believe is the fact that if you're coming from a religious background where you are told that, of course, the man will be the head of the house, but if you are
House.
told that you obviously should respect the fact that whatever the man says is right, and you haven't got a say in the home, then of course you will be thinking to yourself, well, it is my place not to say anything. And so the man has the authority within the household, and therefore, as a woman, I cannot say anything. I cannot question him, and therefore everything that he says, I have to agree
Mm,
to it. And so because of that religious mindset, she's thinking to herself, okay, this is what my parents went through, this is what my family members have been through, this is what
yeah.
everybody else has been through. What makes me any different from
Different.
whatever is has been going on? And so it is for me to endure, because unfortunately, well, I know my husband will provide, and he does provide. My
Yeah.
husband will do what he has to do. It doesn't matter what I say, it doesn't matter what my opinion is, as long as my husband is providing for the home and he's doing what he needs to do for us as a family. So if they have children and he is the one who is shopping for the children and buying the things that the woman needs, then of course, why not? Why does she have to speak up about it? Um, I think
Okay.
that these are some of the things that stop women from speaking up, because it is something that has gone on for so long. It is
Mm,
almost like
mm,
a benchmark. Like, this is the
okay.
standard. So there is nothing you can say about it, because that is how it has always been. And I think that we
Mm,
need to challenge that narrative, because as we rightly see in our world today, women can also be educated, women can
it's
also have
true.
a
Yeah.
voice, and
Yeah.
women's opinions also matter. And if
Matter.
you look at our world today, we have a lot of women that are rising up as leaders. Look,
It's true.
for instance, at our World um, Trade Organization. We have a Nigerian woman who was elected to that position just at the beginning of this month, and you have people who are leaders, Angela
Mm,
Merkel and Theresa
yeah.
May, and
Nicola
previously,
Sturgeon.
uh, yes, Margaret Thatcher. You have
Mm.
all of these women who have contributed well to society because of the fact that they also have something to benefit the rest of society.
Yeah.
And so women are not meant to just be subordinate figures and to be made to know their place within the home. They are supposed to be people that we also seek opinion from when decision needs to be made. And so I
Mm-hmm.
really I want as much as possible to try and let women know that, do you know what, you are not just a housewife or you're not just a bearer of children. You are much more than that. And I really believe that their opinions do matter. And when sometimes there's a saying that when you educate a man, you educate one person, but when you
One
educate
person,
a woman, you educate a whole
the
nation.
whole
And that is
nation.
because a woman likes to share what she has. She will give out of what she has and she will not just keep it to herself. She has a way of leading and a way of organizing those around her. And so that shows in every aspect of who she is. And I really believe that when you have a woman who is diligent, a woman who's hardworking, you see that in everything that she does and in the people that are around her and those that surround her.
Mm,
And so
mm,
I
mm.
really feel that women are not just those people that some people will say are meant to be just home and child bearers, but they are
Mm,
much more
mm,
than very.
mm,
These are things that are very close to my heart. So yes,
mm,
I
mm.
really
I can
would
see
like
that. I
us.
can see that. And in fact, what you've just said right now makes you, a brilliant motivational speaker. Trust me.
Thank you.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, if you just joined us, this is Heritage TV, the legal hour with BWF Solicitors. Today we're talking about domestic violence and its effect on your immigration status. And with me today is a representative, a lawyer, and a partner at BWF Solicitors, Mrs. Eunice Champong. And of course, your host, Vicky Newton. If you want to contribute to this program, you can send us, your message on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, all our social media handles. And Lawyer Eunice will be able to answer your questions. Please share, 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 and I think it will benefit somebody else. Lawyer Eunice, how does the law make provision for those who may have leave to remain, for instance, and do not know their their leave will continue?
Okay, so when you come to our immigration rules, because that is, should I say, the law that specifically deals with those who have leave to remain, for instance. So when it comes to our immigration rules, of course, when you look at Appendix FM, those that are granted leave to remain as partners of people that are either settled in the UK or
Yeah.
British citizens would usually be granted leave of at least 30 months, which is 2.5 years, and then subsequently another 2.5 years if they are on the 5-year route. If they are granted leave on the 10-year route, that would mean that they would have to complete a series of 2.5 years until they have completed the 10-year route to settlement. So it means that
Mm,
after a period of either 5 years or 10 years, they will be applying for indefinite leave to remain in the UK. When it
mm,
comes to domestic violence, the provision that the immigration rules make for those that, for instance, have gone through such abusive relationships or marriages is such that they can say that, of course, they've been granted leave to remain, but as of the of maybe yesterday when an incident happened with them and their spouse, they have now experienced domestic violence, and they can no longer remain in the relationship, and therefore they would want to know how possible it is for them to be granted leave or to be granted indefinite leave to remain under our rules. And it's a good thing that our immigration rules provides a section. So the DV section under our Appendix FM is to do with those that will, should I say, be victims of domestic violence and would want to apply for indefinite leave to remain in the UK as a result of them having gone or undergone some form of psychological abuse or emotional abuse or physical abuse or even sexual abuse. And so that section is there for those that will experience any form of domestic abuse whatsoever. And it's important that even if the leave to remain that was granted in the first instance may have expired, the Home Office is likely to consider whatever evidence that you have in terms of why the application, for instance, is late. And it could be that the perpetrator was somebody who was withholding your documents from you, like your passport and other documents, telling you you will not be able to make this application if they don't support it. And so they will withhold certain documentation from you to try and prevent you from even making the application in the first place. And so in instances like this, when it becomes known that these documentations are being withheld, the police can be made aware, and they will try and retrieve those documentations from the perpetrator in order that this person can also make the application as well. So it is not just the fact that maybe the person has been granted leave to remain, but also if they are being withheld from making the application and the leave does expire, they will still have the leeway to be able to also make these applications if they have evidence to suggest that it was withheld due to domestic abuse. And it's also important that as much as possible, we know that the person who is the victim is not supposed to be undermined in any way. So the evidence that they have should not be undermined in any way just because maybe they haven't shown any bruises or just because they haven't been able to tell or speak up to the police doesn't mean that they should be undermined in any way or their evidence should be taken or disregarded in any way. So in terms of the immigration rules, of course, an application can be made by somebody who was maybe even granted leave to remain, and maybe they've even had it for just 6 months. But because of the series of domestic violence that has been going on, they would choose to speak up and find out what it is they can use as evidence to be able to apply for indefinite leave to remain as a person who is a victim of domestic violence. And I think that the evidence can range from either being a police coming into the situation to give a caution, or them arresting the perpetrator, or even charging the perpetrator with the offense of domestic abuse. And sometimes it could be the fact that the victim has gone to speak with the social services or even to a woman's aid, which usually are organizations that deal with victims of domestic abuse, or any domestic abuse agency. There's so many domestic abuse agencies in most localities, and so It could be any of them. And sometimes too, we need to be aware that the Family Law Act of 1996 gives victims the the chance or the opportunity to apply for a non-molestation order or even an occupation order where there is a real risk of harm being done to the victim or even the children. So in such situations, if there has been a non-molestation order or an occupation order, these can all be evidence that domestic abuse has taken place, and therefore the Home Office are likely to look at all these pieces of evidence to make their case, uh, should I say, stronger, or to suggest that it is true that domestic abuse has taken place, and therefore they are in need of their leave so that, of course, they wouldn't have irregularities in terms of their stay in the UK. So yes, there is that opportunity to also regularize, even if the leave has expired.
Okay. Now, Lawyer Eunice, let's take it that someone is being, is going through domestic abuse or violence. Now, most of the time, they tell such victims, you are lying. What is your evidence? Can you please advise anybody going through this how to gather their evidence? Because sometimes they are very scared to go out there and report. Do they have to take pictures of physical, being beaten, swollen faces, things like that? Should they record when the partner is inhaling insults on her? I mean, evidence, taking pictures, taking secret recordings, is that allowed legally when you are being abused? And my final question is that after taking all those evidence, do all domestic violence cases go to court? So it's two things. If you can take us through how they can gather evidence, because the reason why I'm saying this is that there has been this funny joke going around that when a married woman reports the husband as, she reports that she's being sexually abused, they start laughing. How can a married woman report that she's being sexually abused? Are you not married to the man? Do you get what I'm saying? So it's just, people just laugh over it, but it's a very serious matter.
It's serious. And I think you are right in asking that because, of course, I like the fact that you've asked this question, because under the law, this was a 1993 case in Roe versus Roe where the courts said that, of course, a woman can be sexually abused who is married. So it is not the fact that you are married and so therefore you cannot have been abused sexually. That doesn't matter. As long as a woman has the right to consent to sex, if a married woman does not consent to having sex with her husband, I'm sorry, then that can be taken as sexual abuse, because if she hasn't consented to having that sexual intimacy with her husband, then unfortunately she hasn't given permission that act should go on. And so I think that when people make comments and they say things like that, sometimes it's because of ignorance. I think that sometimes,
because they say that they've paid your bride price, so it's like they've bought you.
Unfortunately, marriage is not slavery. Marriage is not meant to be slavery. Marriage is meant to be a partnership between two people. So it is not a form of slavery. Otherwise, we might as well classify it as modern day slavery. It is so wrong that we have that mindset. It is one of those things, and it's true. I hear people today discussing it, even people who are more mature than me.
Sure than
And
you.
you listen to their comments and you're like, did you just say that? And you're thinking to yourself, if you have that view, then I can't imagine how other women are also thinking. Because
Yeah.
it is not a form of slavery. Marriage is meant to be enjoyed by the couple. You're meant to be discussing things. You're meant to talk about things as a husband and a wife. Of course, you will have your differences, and where there are differences, then whoever is the bigger person will say, "Do you know what? Yes, I know what I said is A, B, and C, but I think that maybe your view will be better off with that. So I think we should go with your view." And that happens in society. You can't always have it your way. And so there will always be differences, but we shouldn't make those differences make somebody else feel intimidated or less of a person. And I think that is where it is wrong, that somebody can be so controlling in their behavior that is so consistent in making the other person feel less of a person or inferior to them. And that is where I think we need to create that awareness that if you're a woman and you feel that this is something that you are going through, where the person is telling you, well, I don't think that you should have access to maybe the bank card, and therefore, if I'm the one providing for you, I'm doing the shopping, and I'm the one doing everything, then you should be okay with it because I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing as a man anyway. And unfortunately, they forget that if they were in that other person's shoes, they wouldn't want the person to be saying that to them. And so sometimes we have to also see that person as ourselves and put ourselves in that person's shoes and think about the fact that would we be happy and would we be okay if we were restricted from doing certain things and were told what to do at all times? Would we be happy with ourselves? And I think that's the perspective from which we need to look at things. And so in terms of the evidence, when we look at evidence, we are looking at things that, for instance, if somebody was physically abused, of course, you can take pictures of the marks on your body, the swollen areas. You can take pictures of all of those. You can also record instances where there have been arguments. So where you feel that this is wrong and you would not let his word go against your word, you can also record these instances because these recordings can also be seen as valuable when it comes to non-molestation cases, for instance. There are cases where you will have somebody who has made recordings and they are relying on the recordings that were made to be able to make their case in terms of an alleged abuse. So these can also be considered by the court when making such non-molestation orders, for instance. If the abuse is not physical, so where it is psychological, for instance, it's emotional, you may not necessarily, have a record of what you call it, something that is physical, but you will have instances where that controlling behavior is showing physically. So for instance, where the person has told you you are not allowed to go out, or you shouldn't have access to the bank account. If you are looking scruffy all the time, you haven't got proper clothes, and your shoes are looking tattered, it is because of the restrictions that this person has on you. And so therefore it would mean that the physical evidence of that will show. And if you're somebody who, for instance, is having to go out and drop your kids at school and having to pick them up, I'm sure people will look at you and people will look at the children, because if the children haven't got the right clothing on, they will be asking you questions, and they will be asking you why the children are not looking kept. And so these things eventually show up physically as well. And there will be instances where you will have to go to the GP. So if you are not feeling well, please tell these things to the GP. Tell the GP, do you know what? I am not feeling well. I am feeling depressed all the time. I am feeling isolated. I am constantly at home. I don't have anywhere to go because I don't have the means to even buy travel card to be able to even go out to the shopping center, for instance. Tell these things to your GP when you go for your GP appointments. Even where you have the schools even asking you the questions, please let them know. Let them know that this is what is going on. And the children, they tell the truth. If you tell the child that it's okay, you can tell your teacher, they will tell them everything. They will tell them what has been happening at home. They will tell them what you do and what you've been going through, and they will say it. Children are innocent and they're so genuine. They would say it as it is. They won't hide anything. And this is where the social services become involved, and then they are able to take up these cases as well. And where you have children who are good with technology, maybe because you may not be so good with technology, just Google women's aid or even domestic abuse agencies on Google. They will just come up. They will come up. And Samaritans, for instance, is a good place to also call as well. And they would transfer, even when you call the police, they would transfer you to women's aid agencies and all those domestic abuse agencies. They will give you the numbers that you can call to actually be assessed by these agencies, so that at least they will be able to also advise you and then take you out of that setting if the need be. Because it's important that we also speak up about it. And there are situations where, for instance, where you have people who are from a certain religious background and they are telling you, because of my religion I cannot do this or do that, and it is not right because the man is supposed to be the head of the home and I can't do this. Or unfortunately, it is not. I really don't think that we should rely on those religious settings, because I don't see anywhere in any religious law that because the man is supposed to be the head, therefore the woman should be treated anyhow. It is not something that I think that we should take. We should take as mandatory, and therefore we cannot speak up about it. Of course, we all want our husbands and our spouses to be at home. We want them to be looking after the children. We want them to do the things that they're supposed to be doing as men within the household. Of course, but not to the extent that you are made to feel inferior or you don't have any form of independence whatsoever, and you are completely reliant and dependent on the man for everything that you need. I think that it is obviously wrong in that sense. And so when it comes to forms of abuse, it could be as little as this person constantly telling you that you are nothing. It's the verbal abuse, and those things can be things that are recorded, because if the man is telling you and is telling your children that you are good for nothing and that you are always lying and you are this and you are that, unfortunately that in itself is psychological. And these things, when the children hear it over and over again, it forms an impact in their minds. And so it shows itself physically as well. And that is why I say children, they are so genuine, and they will tell things as it is. And
Okay.
so the evidence can come in any form. It
Mm.
has to be you speaking up. I think that
Okay.
once you speak up, then it helps. And if you
Okay.
have the boldness to call the police, uh, that is also a good thing, because
A good
I
thing.
think a lot of women in our settings, they are afraid to speak up because they feel that
Exactly.
if they speak up, people will look at them in a certain way. People will look at them
Exactly.
as, hey,
Exactly.
so you were
Be
able to
judging
call the
them.
police on your husband.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Yes.
all of that comes into play, and they don't want to be viewed in a certain way by their peers or by the people within their religious setting. And so they feel that, well, I have to be quiet. But in saying these things and in speaking up about these things, then at least you are setting yourself free in a way. You are liberating
Yeah.
yourself in a way, and you're not
Mm.
keeping
Mm.
yourself
Mm.
confined to that setting or to that label that somebody else has given you.
Yeah.
And I think that
Yeah.
sometimes, even when we even call the police, we are very quick to retract what we said, and we are like, oh, we
Exactly.
didn't mean to call the
Yeah.
police.
Yeah.
We just
Yeah.
wanted them to be afraid that something like this could ever happen. So we are retracting what we said. And I think that no, sometimes you just have to let the law take its course. If
Yeah.
there is evidence that they have been physically abusive towards you, and they are later on found to have done what they did, and they are charged with that offense of assault or battery or whatever offense that they will be charged with, and the likelihood is that most of the time those that are charged would definitely be convicted. Over 90% of those that are charged are convicted with domestic violence. So if we allow the law to take its course, then of course, then in that way, we are also liberating ourselves. And the person may in turn realize that maybe they are not always going to be in charge, and they have to realize that the law
Okay.
also does not defend
Okay.
their position. So
All right.
yes, the evidence can
Laura
take
Eunice.
many.
Okay. All right. Laura Eunice, let me take this quick question. This is from Kemi. She says, I live with my partner and two British children. I have been granted leave to remain twice. Sometimes last year, my partner started to become physically abusive towards me after years of verbal and emotional abuse. Can I then apply for leave if I live with my children?
Okay, so this is a situation where they have children together, and she's
Yep.
thinking, how do I go about um, leaving this person so that I can also have my immigration status intact?
Intact.
As
Yep.
I was saying, when it comes to our immigration rules, there is provision for victims of domestic abuse,
Abuse. Okay.
also previously known as domestic violence. And under our immigration rules, if a person is able to show that that person is a victim. So, for instance, they previously were granted leave for 2.5, and in this case, she was granted leave for 2.5. She didn't say
Okay.
whether it was as a partner, but because they are living together, I will assume that she was granted leave as a partner, even though her children are British,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
usually once you are living together in a household with the partner and the children, the policy is that where somebody is eligible to be granted leave as a partner, that will be considered first of all before they even look at the children. So if she was eligible to apply and to be granted leave as a partner, they will grant her leave as a partner rather than a parent of British children. So
Okay.
assuming
Okay.
that she has been granted leave as a partner of a person who is either settled or who has British citizenship. And if that is so, if she wants to now make the application as a victim of domestic violence, she will also
Violence.
have to show that she has been a victim. And in this case, she says she's had so many years of emotional and psychological abuse. And it's only last year that she was a victim of the physical aspect of
Physical.
that abuse. And I think that due to the current statistics, because there was data collected from the period of the lockdown from March to June. And it is said that during that period, domestic violence reports went up by 7%. And so people who may not necessarily, may have not recorded or reported it, may now have reported it because of the fact that they are isolated at home with their other spouse, and therefore this is something that has taken root. And if that person has undergone physical abuse, then I think that they should, in any instance, speak about it to either a woman's aid. You can even go to your local police station. They will give you the
Okay.
telephone numbers of any domestic abuse agencies that they have. They are very willing and very able to give you those contact details. You could also speak to any person that you think has that right as a multi-agency. So sometimes there are people who already collect benefits, and their
Yeah.
local authority will be the person that, will be the main place they would go to in terms of
Okay.
seeking support. And if they
Okay.
feel like they can no longer live with that person, they will be speaking to the local authority for ways and means through which they can basically get that support if they were to leave that spouse. You can also, like I said before, if the children are involved, the social services will become involved as well. And so social services can also be the ways and means by which somebody will be able to speak up about what is going on within the home. And if for any reason, if that situation happened and that person phoned the police, usually there's evidence that is considered to be strong or conclusive or moderate in terms of domestic abuse applications. So, if, for instance, the perpetrator was arrested and the victim decided to retract whatever they said, and they didn't want to pursue the case any longer, that in itself will form some sort of moderate evidence. But where there has been a charge, so the police have charged that person with some form of abuse, or where there has been a conviction, then that will be considered as conclusive evidence that
Okay.
domestic abuse has taken place, because that person has gone through the court system and has been charged, because there has been evidence collected to show that the abuse did take place. Where, for instance, the victim is able to speak to a social worker, for instance, that evidence will be considered as strong evidence, because maybe the social worker, most of the time, they do their own assessments. They will listen to what you have to say, and they will go on and do their own assessment in terms of the abuse that has taken place, and they would write their own reports as to what has gone on and whether there is a real risk of harm continuing. And so that in itself will be considered as strong evidence as well. Or, for instance, where I would say the victim has gone on and is saying that, well, I want to leave the household. I'm not entitled to, let's say, housing benefit, but I want
Yeah.
to be able to go away from this setting where this man is constantly abusing me. And how would I be able to do that? And local authorities are very good at also giving you advice and how you can go about it. but also speak to a legal representative as well, in terms of the Women's Refuge and the Women's Aid and other domestic agencies. They also will carry out their own assessment, and those assessments are also seen as strong evidence for
Okay.
domestic abuse taking place if, for instance, the victim has had to leave her matrimonial home or has had to leave the family home, because these are instances where the person may not be married to the partner. So if they've had to leave the home because they are having to leave this abusive relationship, then of course the evidence that is being taken on by the Women's Refuge or domestic agencies will also be considered as strong evidence that domestic abuse has taken place, because the Women's Refuge, for instance, will have to provide evidence of that um, victim having to take maybe food
Okay.
vouchers or having to come and live within the refuge for one reason or the other. And so
Okay.
all of these evidences can be used as a way of making the Home Office aware that domestic abuse has taken place, and therefore this person has indeed used physical harm and has indeed gone on to provide other forms of evidence to show that indeed domestic abuse has taken place. Where there's conclusive evidence, so where there has been a conviction or that person has been charged, you don't need to provide any other evidence because that in itself is conclusive. But where there has not been conclusive evidence, maybe you've just reported it to a women's refuge, so it's considered strong. They would want to see other forms of evidence, or where there has been a non-molestation order, which
Yeah.
has not found any findings of fact, probably because the other party has not maybe counter complained in terms of that non-molestation order. All those things will need to have the backing of other evidences so that at least they are sure that yes, domestic violence has taken place. And people may have other people within the household. So apart from the
Okay.
children, if there is another person within the household who is a key witness to the abuse having taken place, they can also provide evidence which will
Provide
be considered
evidence.
as
Okay.
strong evidence that domestic abuse has taken place. So all of these evidences can be used as a form of evidence or supporting documents to show that domestic abuse has taken place, and therefore the Home Office will look at the evidence that has been presented and then would grant indefinite leave to remain as a victim of domestic violence, having been able to show strong or conclusive evidence or moderate evidence to show that this has indeed taken place, and therefore that person should be granted leave for indefinite leave for an indefinite period.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Brilliant. Okay. I've got this question as this person wants to remain anonymous. Um, she says, 2 years ago, I married my husband who brought me to the UK. I realized he was seeing another woman and tried to ignore it. He then started to ask me to pay for the fees he incurred when he brought me, and that if I wanted to extend my leave, I will have to pay for it. He sometimes is not
Mm,
home for days and does not call or message to let me know where he is or whether he is fine. I have had enough and want to know what to do in terms of my immigration status. A lot of women are in this scenario, Lawyer Eunice. A
mm,
lot
mm,
of women.
mm, mm. And this is an example, a typical example of financial and psychological abuse.
Yes.
So you have women who are brought into the UK by their husbands.
Yes.
And well, we all know that application fees are not cheap. They are very expensive. We know that. If you consider the application fee and the immigration health
Should
surcharge
I have said, yep,
now, you're going over what, 2,000, almost £3,000.
yep,
So we
yes.
know it is not cheap, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
think anybody would say that it is cheap. But where you have
Yeah.
formed a relationship with a person, and you are saying to that person that you want to spend the rest of your life with that person because you love them, because you didn't form the relationship just so that the person will be your slave. You form that relationship so that that person will be your spouse, your other half.
Yeah.
And so if you are saying that you spend that amount of money on an application to let them join you, to be a companion, to
Yes.
live life with that person, are you then saying that because of the money that was spent, therefore that person should then pay up because they are your employee, or what, they are your slave, and therefore they need to pay up that money? Unfortunately, then you are telling that person that you are not really a spouse, because there's no love in that. And I think that in this person's situation, like you are saying, it is common to a lot of spouses who may have had their other spouse bring them into the UK
Into the
for one
UK.
reason or the other. And in cases like this, you will have to be able to show that at least this person has access to maybe your account. So sometimes what happens is that the perpetrator or the other spouse will be transferring money from the wife's account to their account, or they will have their wife transfer from their account directly into the
Okay.
husband's account, just, yes, just to pay up what is due them, and they will tell them to pay specific bills as well. um and then sometimes, if they want to be very smart, they ask for the money to be withdrawn via cash. So they will
Via
say,
cash. Okay.
yeah, so they will say, oh, withdraw the money via cash and then
Okay.
give it to
Yeah.
me every month, like you're saying. And if this is something that goes on consistently, of course, if you are finding yourself in that predicament where this person is always having to tell you to take money out of your account and give it to them because you owe them an amount of money because of what they've done for you or what they are doing for you, then please document it. Write a diary. Say, on so and so day, I had to take out £500 for so and so reason. Document these things because they help. And then
Mm.
also, in terms of the fact that when we are looking for evidence, it helps that you document these things so that even when you're giving the information back to somebody who is in a woman's refuge or somebody who deals with domestic violence issues, they in turn would then ask you the effects it has had on you
Hard on
physically.
you.
So
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
it had any psychological effect on you? Has it had any impact on you socially? Or has it had any impact on your children, for instance? So all
Mm.
of these things, they would then assess and find out how best they can help. It also helps when you are able to show, for instance, in this person's situation, she's only been married for what, 2 years, and
Yes.
she's just been tossed up and down to just basically work to be able to
Yeah.
pay up for whatever this man says he has paid for her
Mm.
application. So if there are no children, for instance, the fact that you are working more hours than you should be working is also evidence in itself that this is what this person is doing to you so that you can pay up for whatever fees they say that you owe. And sometimes it's not just the fees that you owe, it's the bills in the house and other what you call it, expenses apparently that
Yep.
need to be paid for. And so those extra hours that you're having to work, please document these things. If you are
Mm.
having to work those extra hours and your pay slips are showing that maybe you are contracted to work 36 hours a week, and because of the money owed, you are having to work maybe 50 hours a week,
Mm.
please, your pay slips, your bank statements, all of these things are evidence that you can use as a way of showing that because of what he has done, I'm having to work all these extra hours, I'm having to take
Mm.
out all this money to be able to pay for all these other things, and he doesn't pay anything in the household. For instance,
Yeah.
I pay
Yeah.
the rent, I pay the light bill, I pay the water bill, and then I have to also pay the expenses in terms of what he used for my application. So all of
Yeah.
this will be documented through your pay slips, through your bank statements, and then also the women's refuge or the women's agencies can also use that as a way of assessing
It's
you as a
awesome. Yeah.
victim of domestic
Yeah.
violence as well. So
Mm.
all these things are evidence that you can show as a way that that psychological abuse has taken place, and it's very
Mm.
clear in the office policy that there should be no distinction between physical abuse and psychological abuse, because
Psychological
psychological
abuse.
abuse can be as threatening as the
Yeah.
physical abuse.
Physical
That is what
abuse. Yeah.
leads people to also commit suicide in the long run as well.
Mm.
So
Mm.
that distinction has been made clear, and it's good that we have policymakers who can also agree to the fact that you might not have the physical marks on your body, but there will be some form of evidence that you can use to show that there is some psychological abuse that is taking place,
Okay.
or there is
Mm.
some form of emotional abuse that is taking place that is causing you to be depressed. And for some people,
Mm.
they will
Mm.
go to the GP and they will start taking antidepressants because
It's
they
true.
can't bear
It's true.
what is happening to them. And so, evidence from the GP as well can be considered as um, evidence when making such domestic violence application. So this person, this lady, she can take evidence from either the domestic
Okay.
violence agencies that she will speak to about what is going on, and if she is somebody who goes to the GP, she and reports these things, she can take evidence from the GP as well that this is there have been occasions where she has come to the GP to report that is what is going on. And all these evidences will be considered
Mm. Mm.
holistically, and
Okay.
where
Okay.
they believe that the evidence is strong and there's moderate
Mm.
evidence, they will make that decision to grant indefinite leave to remain, such that she will be able to
Mm.
regularize her stay,
Mm.
regardless of the
Okay.
fact that she's only been here a short period of time.
Right. Oh dear. Look at how time flies. Time flies. Time flies. Oh dear. I would have to apologize to our viewers that I won't be able to, read all the questions to Lawyer Eunice. Honestly, I can just add one more question to ask Lawyer Eunice. Then what we'll do is that at the end of the program, Lawyer Eunice will give her details. Then you can contact her. Then probably discuss your question with her, and she'll be able to help you. I apologize for this. The questions are too many, so please forgive me if I'm not able to read your question. Lawyer Eunice, before we wrap up, this lady, the name, Harin, she's a national of Yemen, and she has leave to remain as a um, dependent on of her husband, who is on tier 4 student visa. Their relationship breaks down because of domestic violence. Um, she feels she will not be able to apply under the domestic violent rules. Reason being, she's dependent on a tier four, you know, um, partner, and he's got a student
Yeah.
visa. Two, she believes that going back to Yemen, she is not going to be protected because in that country, authorities do not protect women from domestic violence. What can she do?
Mm. So she is correct in saying that as a person who is a partner to a tier four um, student, she will
Hmm.
not have that right to apply for
Exactly.
a victim of domestic violence, because they believe that the person who is being granted tier four visa is not going to live in the UK permanently, and so
Permanently,
therefore,
yeah.
yes, and so therefore, um, that person who is a partner to that tier four visa holder should not have the right to apply for um, indefinite leave to remain, because their partner doesn't have it in the first place, and therefore
Mm.
they should not be allowed in that instance to apply for
Okay.
indefinite leave to remain. And so, yes,
Mm.
she is correct in that sense. But when it comes to the fact that at the current moment she's undergoing some sort of domestic violence, she needs to
Violence.
have, yes, she needs to apply to the courts for a non-molestation order. So
Okay.
currently, if it's physical in any way or even if it's verbal, she can still apply to the courts for a non-molestation order, which will try and stop that person, which is her husband, from
Okay.
being verbally abusive towards her. I know that usually non-molestation orders are valid for a period of 12 months, but at least it
Okay.
will stop him from continuing in that behavior, from
Okay.
threatening her, from maybe using that controlling or coercive behavior towards her. And the courts are very strict with these things because they obviously take such things seriously. And so she should still apply to the courts for a non molestation order. Or in the case where it is overbearing, then she can
Mm.
apply for occupation order as well if there
Okay.
is threats of significant harm being done to
Okay.
her. She can
Okay.
apply to the courts for those orders as well. But in terms of her immigration status, unfortunately, because her husband will not be granted indefinite leave,
Yeah.
so she will not have the opportunity to apply for indefinite leave as a victim of domestic abuse. I'm not
Okay. So
sure
she has to
why.
go back home. She has to go back to
Yes,
Yemen.
yes,
Right.
and I'm
Okay.
not sure why um, in Yemen they don't protect victims of domestic abuse.
Mm.
It might also be a cultural thing because you have
Okay.
that cultural, um, should I say, stereotype where the woman is the subordinate in the marriage, and
Yeah.
therefore what
Marriage.
her
Yeah.
husband says is
Mm.
always right. And so
Mm.
even if
Mm.
she reports it, nothing will be done
Okay.
about it.
Mm.
I don't know if she wants to continue in the marriage, but if she wants to continue in the marriage, then of course that is something that I will tell her to take seriously. But she is under no obligation to continue in an abusive relationship. And I think that
Exactly.
we should liberate ourselves in that way. If the
Okay.
relationship is so abusive and sometimes it can lead to death, then please take yourself out of the relationship.
Okay. Well said. Well said. Lawyer Eunice, quickly, if you can, let us have your details for the benefit of those whom I wasn't able to read their questions, for them to
Yeah.
get in touch with you, and definitely you take it from there.
Okay, so as you've mentioned, I am Eunice. I'm from BWF Solicitors. I'm one of the solicitors at BWF Solicitors, and we are situated in London, very, very, very close to the Seven Sisters Underground Station. Our address is the fourth floor of Anna House, 214 to 218 Tottenham High Road, London. Our postcode is N15 4NP. We are open from Monday to Friday from 9:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. And if you require a special appointment for any reason on a Saturday, do call us and then we will see how best we can sort you out. But we are open from Monday to Friday. Our office telephone number for any booking is 0208 493 7340. So 0208 493 7340. And my personal number is 075 35 81 3910. So 075 35 81 3910. And I would also like to take this opportunity to wish all those mothers, not just the biological mothers, those that have taken children under their wings or other people's children under their wings and mentor them and have brought them up, or in any way, shape or form, being an example to somebody else's child. I would like to wish all of you a happy Mothering Sunday for tomorrow.
Well said. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lawyer Eunice. Thank you for your time. Oh, I always tell you that you are a blessing to all of us. We appreciate you so much. Not forgetting your team, Mr. Bernard Owusu, Lawyer Richard, Francis, all of them. All of them. We thank you so much. And before Eunice leaves, I would like to remind our viewers that BWF will be having a Facebook live discussion program. And the topic for today at 4 p.m. between 4 to 6. And the topic is your child born in the UK eligible for a UK British citizenship? Which is a very good topic. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to, know more about this, whether if your child is born in the UK, automatically does the child become a UK, British citizen? Tune in. Go on their Facebook page at BWF Solicitors, 4 p.m. today, and you will have one of the team at BWF, Lawyer Francis, who will be discussing this with Mr. Oreku Frimpong. So I will endeavor to join in as well. On this note, ladies and gentlemen, we've gone over the time. We thank our director at Heritage TV, Mr. Ade Thomas, for your patience. Thank you so much for being patient with us. So take good care of yourself. And to mothers, happy Mothering Sunday. Please observe social distancing, observe the COVID protocols. Keep washing your hands at all times. Cover your nose. And just stay safe. I'll see you next week, Saturday, God willing, at 12 noon. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.
BWF Solicitors, we take pride in our clients' service. As a niche law practice, we are conscious of the demands of our clients. We always offer a friendly, listening ear and sympathetic attitude. We've worked with thousands of people all across the UK in all areas of personal legal services. We have received great feedback and reviews from our clients. We are located at Seven Sisters in Tottenham on the 4th floor of the Anna House, right on top of the Victoria Line train station for your utmost convenience. We have a friendly office and provide all of the refreshments necessary while you wait to see a lawyer. We are dedicated to our clients and have a successful record of serving our clients. Solicitors of England and Wales are of high quality and are bound by the highest professional standards. We are officers of the court and are bound by standards of integrity, competence and conduct as part of our responsibility to uphold rule of law. Our solicitors and lawyers care about your case and are committed to providing the best possible service to you in the most considerate and careful manner. We hold 2 Law Society quality marks. Law Society accreditation helps to demonstrate that we have attained the requisite standard in the area of law and have the requisite expertise. BWF Solicitors, we're here to help you with your legal services when you need us.
Victon Estates provides professional and reliable service to landlords, investors and tenants. Our mission is to ethically and honestly serve our clients. We won't make promises we cannot keep, rather. We present a clear picture of the reality we can offer. We are here to help you with long and short-term let, property management, cash buyers for quick sales, stock repossession, and mortgage arrears. For all your property needs, look no further. Visit us at www.victonestates.co.uk or call us on 07448619711. Victon Estates, your property is our pride.